Hello, this is Alejandro Bratti from Believe in Yourself, Believe in Your Business. We are with Shanae and CJ, and we welcome the Spanglish World Network on Singo TV channel 250. Please remember to download both the Singo TV app on their respective app stores on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you to rate and leave a comment. The app is free. Singo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, and Fire TV Sticks, Roku and Roku Sticks, also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. This is amazing. Today we have my two partners, CJ and Shanae. We are going to be having a good discussion with Dave. We know him for a while, and thank you, Dave, for joining us today from freezing Toronto or freezing Canada. so
I'm not in Toronto. I'm in Ottawa, but it's still freezing. But either way, I'm stoked to be here.
No, thank you very much for accepting this invitation. And you know, the idea of this show is really to start to know our belief system, where are we coming from, and how we are creating the belief that are helping us to grow to the next level in our lives. So, what I want you, I know that you are an amazing storyteller, and I have listened to you about that. So, I want you to tell us about a story, but about yourself, like who was Dave, and what is the area that you want to share with us today?
Oh golly, that means I should have prepared, and I haven't. I am nothing like the kid that I was when I was 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, teenager. I look back on those years and I think, wow, I've come a long way. Um, you know, as a kid, I was shy, timid, scared, obnoxious. Well, I suppose any teenager is like that. But I was certainly no exception. I was frail. I wasn't physically strong. Um, and there was, I would say, I grew up with although I grew up in an intact home. There was a reasonable amount of family dysfunction. I'll put it that way. So that I, growing up, I didn't have a happy childhood. I wasn't a happy teenager. And I grew up really disliking myself intensely.
Wow.
But not really sure why I did. And I was also ill. I was struck with Crohn's disease when I was I think I was afflicted with it from fairly early in my teens. Now that I look back, wasn't actually diagnosed until I was 20 years old. And then by the time I was 20, I was really, really ill with it. In fact, I'm close to half dead on my feet. I spent 7 weeks stuck in Toronto General Hospital. Recovering with that, but it was all related to the mess that was up in here, and then a collection of experiences that I couldn't pick one and say that was the thing that changed everything. But it was a collection of experiences and people that I met started to challenge me. Say, Dave, we see this kid that's doesn't. I don't remember how they worded it. You don't really think very highly of yourself, and we'd like to sort of suggest that there's a better way to live. There's a better way to think. And most of the time, I would sort of, and I now know what it was. Is I had a self-image that I had defined from early childhood years. That was from a variety of traumatic events going back earlier than my birth. In fact, there was trauma that was affecting the family going back years before, which I didn't know. And that all, we know enough now about the mind, how the mind works. The first few years of a child's life are critical. Got to get those, well, don't have to get those right, but if you can, so much the better. If you don't get them right, it takes a lot of work to unpack that and change it. And so I grew up with a terrible self-image, which was crafted through. I'm not blaming anybody at all. My folks, gave us the best that they knew how. They really did. But there was still stuff that that was affecting the way I was raised, and that all meant that you reach as a kid. I'm talking about a 2, 3, or 4-year-old kid. Your mind reaches conclusions about what it's going to take for you to survive in this world. A couple of years ago, I encountered this. Stop me at any point, by the way, if I'm going on too far. I encountered this guy on YouTube called Gabor Mate. Really super. He's a general physician, I think, who's become a sort of a self-taught psychologist. And he explained something that when I heard him say this, it really made a huge difference for me. He says every child enters the world with 2 overwhelming needs: attachment to parental figures, and the need for authenticity. They've got to preserve that attachment to the parents, but they've also got to be able to express their true selves. And these 2 are often in conflict, because frequently the parent can't handle who you are. You start to misbehave. They can't handle you. So what the child will do, of those 2 needs, attachment and authenticity, attachment is the stronger one. So the child will suppress his or her authenticity in order to preserve the attachment.
Wow.
Of necessity, but that comes at a cost. You have to suppress who you really are. You can't say what you really think, how you really feel. You can't do what you really want to do. And that can have the consequences from that. I mean, Gabor Mate, if I remember correctly, teaches this can actually cause actual disease. Crohn's disease. When I hit my late teens, I'm affected by Crohn's disease. Why? I wonder.
Wow.
Long story. I'll try and cut it short. I start down this road of realizing, hey, maybe there is really a better way to think, and maybe there is stuff in. Maybe I'm not such a pile of crap. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe possibly I'm okay. And that actually is not something that changed. That's not something. Well, at least I didn't change it overnight. It was slow, gradual. Maybe some people, the Tony Robbinses of the world can change overnight. I couldn't.
But how was that process to be like that? Because for me, it's, if you are believing that you are like no self-image. So first, why you think that happened? Because you are telling us some stories, like right now you are looking like from other point of view here. Okay, I am looking at Dave when he was like a teenager. But when you were at that point, how were you feeling? What was the feeling that you were having?
When I was a teenager?
Yeah, like I know that you are telling us this story from this point of view, but when you were like inside that person?
Oh, golly, it's very difficult for me to unpack. I detested who I was. That is as accurate as like I hated who I was. I didn't like I didn't like the fact I had this thin frame. I was when you're young boys, you're outside, you're playing sports, and I just wasn't very good at it. I never stacked up that way. I grew up playing ice hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer. I wasn't very good at either one. Wasn't terrible, but I sure didn't excel. I could excel in the classroom reasonably well. I was never top of the class, but I got reasonably good at that. But most of the time, it just seemed like everybody else, all the other kids around me, were better than I was, and that that went right through university. I never seemed to be quite good enough. I'd use the football expression. I would fumble the ball in the 1 yard line all the time, and I could never get I could never get the girl. I could never get the girl. I was a geek. Geeks were I couldn't understand how women thought at all, and they more or less just ignored me all the time. So that when you're young, 20, red-blooded 20, 21-year-old, you take that kind of personally. And it took I've been married for 31 years now to the same woman. If somebody had said, "Don't worry, Dave, you're gonna get there. It's gonna happen." But,
at that moment, you didn't see anything, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's awful hard to see sunshine when there's a raging thunderstorm going on around you.
So Dave, where was the turning points for all of this for you? I could imagine that there were like multiple turning points.
Yeah.
But what were they, and when did that happen for you?
First big one came. First one was at a. I was raised as a Church of England. Church on Sunday was mandatory in my family, but I got really fed up with it. But I went to an Anglican youth event when I was about 18, and something that I cannot explain happened there, and I don't even remember what it was. I just remember leaving that event. It was in Lennoxville, Quebec. I was 18, leaving that event. I suddenly had this epiphany on the bus on the way home that God was not a big, bad, horrible, nasty magician far away who periodically got angry at me, but other than that, didn't really care about me at all. That was my image up to that point. All of a sudden, I realized, no, he wasn't. He was actually very near. And what's more, he was on my side.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
I have no idea how that epiphany came, but I suddenly, for the first time, began to realize he was actually on my side.
Wow.
Okay. About a year and a half later, through a crazy set of circumstances, I finished my first year of university, and I decided to go all the way out to Alberta, which, well, at the time, that seemed like a huge distance. It's only 2 time zones. But nobody in my family did that kind of thing. We always were expected, you stay as close as possible to the family nest. That's where you're safe. And here I do. I decide to go all the way out to Alberta and work in the oil field for a summer. And there, I'm all on my own. I don't know anybody. And a bunch of people started to recognize, this kid's far from home. Let's give him a little bit of TLC. And there's this one particular family, the family named St. Clair. Terry, Les, Barb, if you're watching this, thank you. But this is a family of 3 girls roughly they actually started to pay attention to me. When this was fantastic. All of a sudden I had some female attention. This is amazing. And they would actually start to say, Dave, think of yourself a little bit better than that. Really? Really? Slowly. It was in that one particular summer, that was 1981, the summer of 1981. And all of a sudden, if you can think of my life as this massive oil tanker in the middle of the ocean going in the wrong direction, slowly this massive oil tanker starts to turn around. Slowly, very slowly, and go in a better direction. I went back to university. I ended up going back there for the second summer because they had so transformed my life that I went back. I wanted to stay in touch with them. Golly, that was the big change. Coming out, I guess, fast forward a few years, I finally get the girl. Married to Heather for 31 years now. And then settled down, get my first proper engineering job, get fired from that. They were right to fire me. I was not a good engineer. Not at that time, I wasn't. Get another one. And the whole time, this I'm thinking, when does life happen? When does life happen the way it's supposed to? I thought it was just going to happen. Everything was just going to work, and all my deepest, darkest, well, hopefully not too dark, longings, get met. It wasn't happening. I thought, what's going on? And I slowly started to realize, damn, maybe I'm the one who's got to write the script.
Wow.
And I actually had okay, here's another transforming moment. One conversation, a fellow named Blair Steinbach. Blair, if you're watching this, I'm thanking you as well, pal. He says, Dave, cream rises to the top. If you're not excelling in your chosen in your job, in your career, maybe you're not in the right environment, because cream always rises to the top if it's in milk. And he had me pegged. I knew exactly what he was telling me. I had to move. I had to make a change. This is already my second job, and even that's not working out very well. And then so finally, I start to think, okay, do I really dare to chase chase the dream? Ever since I was this high, I was fascinated with aircraft. Anything in the air, flying in the air. Wow. Even today, if we're driving past the airport, my wife, and I'm driving, I'm starting to watch, if something's taken off. My wife says, keep your eyes on the road, because she knows me. She knows that I'm always going to be distracted by an aircraft. And so finally, I'm 35. Okay. Not exactly a spring chicken. I'm 35, and I finally decide to go after it. Ever since that age, I'd wanted to learn how to design a flying machine. I wanted to understand what made it work, what kept it in the air. We sold up the house, sold just about everything, and I got on a plane to Heathrow Airport, and this was probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had. It was October 1997, and by this time I have one kid, and Heather is 8 months pregnant with the second one. And I know by getting on this plane and flying to Heathrow, I am going to miss the delivery of my second child. I knew it would happen. And I remember I kissed my wife and kid goodbye, and looked at the bump, and I said, I'm looking forward to seeing that bump. Got on the plane, and it was sitting in the back of that 747, thinking, what kind of man abandons his wife and kids in order to go off on a crazy flight of fancy? Flight being the operative word. And it was it was the worst feeling I've ever had. I thought, what on earth have I done? As soon as I get to Heathrow, I'm going to buy a flight and go back home. Well, fortunately, reason. It's a good thing our emotions can't carry us too far for too long. Eventually, they have to settle down. So I get off the plane finally, not having slept particularly well. And I was so groggy. I had this beautiful Cowichan sweater, that you only really get in Western Canada. I lost it. I put it down somewhere. I never saw it again. So now I'm groggy, terrified, and mad at myself for having lost my sweater. Oh well. Long and short, I end up going back. I retraining for a year, studying aircraft design. I get the degree. And Heather and by then 2 kids arrive. We were only apart for about 6 weeks. Get another degree, and I start a whole new career. And that was another big step for me, because all of a sudden I did something crazy, absolutely nuts, and it paid off. Now I wouldn't say it paid off financially, but all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I was doing work that I instinctively understood. This is how an aircraft works. Cool. Wow. And then I ended up getting to work on the design of the A380, which is this massive double-decker aircraft. It's the biggest airliner in service right now. Unfortunately, there's not that many of them in service, but that was, the biggest, working on the biggest aircraft. Cool. Wow. I worked on the wing. When you ever fly on an Emirates A380 or Singapore Airlines A380, you're flying on my wing. I sweated blood over that wing. Closest I ever came to burnout was doing that. That was 3 years of heaven, a potent mixture of heaven and hell.
But what I see really when you are telling this story, what I see is a couple of things. One, you are telling us, okay, I had these different people that started to like go directly to my heart and start to tell me, okay, Dave, this is not you. You have to change.
Yep.
And really, I was thinking to ask you this question before about how was that part, those persons, just to go deeper there. But even your wife, okay, accepting, okay, sell everything. We are going to follow your dream, even when we don't know if that works, if it doesn't work, whatever.
She backed me up. She was crazy. She backed me up. Totally.
Yeah, she was more crazy than you. So that's a lot of things to do.
She had never been outside North America in her life. When we went across to England, I'd been over many times. But she had never been outside North America in her life. She didn't, so she had some culture shock coming. She paid a price for it, but I mean, it was fantastic as well. It was awesome.
So this is something that for us is really important, because really this part of believing yourself, sometimes it's like, okay, you start to find, because something amazing happens or something completely different from your comfort zone happens, or people comes to your life and start to speak life to your life,
And you listen to this signal.
Yeah.
There's this. That's what I call it, the signal. You go, is this coincidence? What's going on here? This is spooky. What's happening? Is this for me, or is this, am I? And you go, let's just take a step, just see what happens, see where this path goes.
Mm-hmm.
And even tell us a little bit of how you created this belief, like really to sell everything and move with your wife to, because at the end it was from both sides. One was your wife that was crazy because she believed in you like crazy, and the other one is you, like, okay, I am doing this, but what happens if this doesn't work?
I think if it hadn't worked, that at least I'd be able to say, well, I had a kick at the football. And I would say there was something in here that also told me somehow this is going to work. It won't work right, but it's going to work. It won't work the way I expect.
Yeah.
And I also started, I started hearing stories of people that did their whole life doing a job they really couldn't stand. They got to retirement and then die at 65. That happened to my father, and I thought, I ain't living like that. I'm not subjecting that to my wife and kids either, because when you refuse to follow your the dream that's planted in you, it isn't just you that suffers, it's the people around you as well.
Yeah 100%.
So that was what really drove me. I thought, I don't want to get to the end of my days, realize there's this great that's this sort of a parable story about some guy he dies, goes to the pearly gates, and St. Peter meets him there and takes him on a tour of heaven. And he notices he's enjoying the tour, but he's noticing that St. Peter never opens this one particular door. And he says, what's behind that door? Says St. Peter, you don't want to look in there. Why not? You don't want to look in there. Well, I do. Come on, I'm curious. You showed me everything else. I want to see what's behind the door. Okay, I'll show you. St. Peter opens the door, and in there are all the gifts that the man could have opened in his earthly life and never did. And that story haunts me. And I'm just determined, when I get there and I open that door, I only want to see empty boxes.
Yeah.
I don't want to see anything left unopened, anything left untried.
And
that's
David,
what drove. I'm sorry.
No, you can finish your sentence.
No, I was that was it.
Would you say that your courage and your curiosity has led your belief to go to the next level or change direction?
I'm doing that right now.
Tell us about it.
I'm doing that right now. We moved back to Canada 4 years ago, and I'm still an engineer, but I have, by this point, become fascinated with the written word, the power of the written word. And I've discovered that I've got a latent skill in that area. And I've come across these guys like Gary Halbert and Dan Kennedy and John Carlton that have actually made quite a tidy, nice living, copywriting, persuading people to buy stuff, and done quite well for themselves as well as their clients. And I thought, I want to have a kick at that football. And we were blessed in that when we arrived back in Canada, we were able to buy a house, clear a mortgage, so our costs are low. And I decided I'm going to have a go at this. So that was 2 years ago. I decided, just after I met CJ, and I knew CJ was a copywriter, that I'm going to have a go at being a copywriter. And that's what I've been doing. Hasn't been easy. I wouldn't say I've been quote unquote successful yet. But it's coming. I know it. I know it's coming. So that's what I'm doing. That's how I'm doing it now.
And do you have a coach that helps you with it, or do you just try and figure it out yourself?
I get coaching from two sources. There's a guy here in town who I talk to every Thursday afternoon. He is his name is Bill Rabo, and he's got a great podcast called How to Live a Great Life, and he coaches me for free because he wants to. That's what he does. He's actually hunting for people whom he can coach, and he's about to launch a training program that I think is really, really going to take off. But I talk with him every Thursday afternoon, and he sometimes tells me stuff that I don't want to hear.
That's good.
I have another guy named Vlad Solovetsky, whom I talk with once a month. He was instrumental in help when I got into the copywriting, in helping me see that I still didn't fully believe in myself. I still had some beliefs harbored way back when, that I didn't really think that money was, that I had the ability to make money. I didn't somehow, I don't know how a kid reaches that conclusion, but I had, and I didn't think money was a good thing. I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was capable. And he helped me to see that. Now, he's not really coaching me anymore, but I still talk to them once a month anyway, just because the guy is amazing, and I always get stuff like that. That's the coaching I get.
Okay.
Awesome. And quick question in regards, to your belief system, because what I see is you are starting now from in another career, creating another new stuff, and at the end, in the entrepreneurial world, and believe in your business, sometimes it's it's like always, it's a roller coaster. Everything is going fine, everything is going amazing, and tomorrow, something happened, COVID happened or whatever, and suddenly everything is going the other way, and you have to figure it out and everything. So how can you relate the story that, you were a kid that were suffering all these self-doubts and all the things that were happening in your life, to started to listen to some voices that were speaking to you and telling you, Dave, you are not the person that you believe that you are something bigger and better. so those things that started to, okay, what is happening here? Is coincidence? Somebody's talking to me. What is the link? I don't know what is happening here. From like, okay, now I believe in myself. I believe that I can do this. I saw that when I moved to England, everything was fine. I created a good life. Maybe you can do it better, but it was a good life. You have your two kids, your wife with you. Everything was fine, and you are going back again to your another journey to change a little bit your life.
Yep.
What is the thing that you think is helping you as Dave, as a person, to have this like clarity that I can do it even if I don't know how?
Ancient stories is the
Mhm.
first thing I can come to. The biggest inspiration I have when you know to do this kind of thing is when I read stories of the ancient biblical patriarchs, particularly Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Caleb, Moses, King David, my namesake. These people who had extraordinary adventurous lives, didn't always have it easy, and sometimes were pretty stupid. They'll sabotage their own success in some instances, and yet nothing could stop the creator of the universe from blessing them. They kept on going. Crazy stuff kept happening. Oh wow, that's cool. I wasn't expecting that. That's what keeps me going. And they're in the Bible for a reason, because they're archetypal. These are stories that can apply to anybody. Because you see these guys. I mean, they're hero's journey. The hero's journey. Joseph Campbell. It's very much that kind of thing. You see the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. These kinds of stories. How people somehow manage to go from here to here, and they dare to dream. When you read those stories over and over, they filter into your head, and they help you to keep going, to keep believing. Have I answered your question?
Yes. And I have another one that is going to be deeper. What do you think is stopping you to go to the next level? What beliefs you think are stopping you right now to go to the next level?
I don't think there is anything stopping me from going to the next level. I mean, I have a craze. Every morning I sit down in bed. I put a cup of coffee beside my wife, put a cup of coffee beside my daughter, and I grab a cup myself, and I sit in bed and I meditate, and I try to picture awesome, incredible stuff happening. I don't think there is anything stopping me besides time and just plugging along. I will get there.
Awesome. CJ, any question, any comment? Because he's in your same world. So
no, I mean a couple things. I was thinking earlier today that even life sometimes hits you, and so when we see ourselves in these stories, one thing that I really appreciate is that the stories are about the less than likely hero. David was a scrawny youngest boy of the family.
Yeah.
Overlooked by all the brothers. Who knows what his things were when he was a kid, but he was out in the field while his brothers were at war. And he's the one who ends up facing the giant. He's the one who the prophet comes to. And the stories throughout scripture, what I find is God's stories are about people who are the overlooked. They're the not chosen ones. And that's something where I think anybody can see themselves in this story, because it's not about, this King David. It's about the boy David who becomes the king. And so there's something about, as you mentioned, this hero's journey. And I think along the path, life happens, right? So you describe, you laugh because that's the thing, is it really does. It's like sickness happens, death happens, people leave you, people betray you, payments don't come through on time, people judge you or miss, label you, all these kind of things along the way. And I think that going along the way, this growth, even if we improve 1% in one thing today, there's still that forward movement, even if it doesn't look like much. I'm wondering, Dave, along the way, you talk about like in the morning, doing this visualization. And I think it's so important really to think and dream along with God, because he's a creator and he created us to create along with him. I'm wondering along the way, if you could speak to maybe one or two instances of when you chose to grow 1%, just a little bit, like something that would be totally discouraging otherwise, something not coming through, an idea not happening how you liked it, whatever, but that you chose in the midst of adversity, because I think this is where heroes are made. Heroes are made when you're having heartbreak, when someone doesn't love you, or when, business deal doesn't fall through, or, clients don't pay, or they don't pay on time, or, they walk away without paying a ladder payment, or, there's all these things that can happen, maybe one or two adversities that you got to overcome, and how you would use those to inform, because the entrepreneurial journey, as Alejandro talked about, is there's this up and down kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh, I'm amazing. No, I suck. Oh, this is the best thing in the world. I want to quit business. I literally want to kill myself. Oh, all my friends are supporting me. I made the most money I've ever made. Oh, this is the worst month I've ever had. I should go back and get a job. And there's this maybe you can speak to some of that.
Well, I mean, my first copywriting client, which was a year and a half ago, I thought, wow, cool. And I found it on Upwork, and so not exactly particularly high-end contract. And within 2 weeks of starting for that client, he shelved the project. Stop. That's it. So he paid me $1,000. And that was the only grand I got all year, by the way.
Wow.
I made $1,000 in my first year of business as a copywriter. That's it. Peanuts. Next year, I did better. But even then, I got, my first client, I did 2 or 3 contracts for that client. And then suddenly that was the end. Client wanted, and I still don't actually know if it was, if maybe I was a disappointment to the client, or if she just decided, that she wanted to take the business a different direction and didn't need my services. It was a disappointment. But what I've sort of come to recognize is that when those dips happen, they're always followed by an up. And it's only really a dip if you stay in it. If you stop trying, if you stop believing, if you stay in the you fall into a pit and you sit there and feel sorry for yourself and cry bitter tears. Well, yeah, guess what? You're going to stay in the pit. But if you think, there's got to be something awesome going to happen next, guess what? It usually does.
Yeah.
Gee, what else has happened like that? I can't think of too many instances. Maybe I'm just too darn positive. I can't think of too many cases like that. Though, I mean, I do have down days. I have days when I start writing and I just think, oh, this sucks. You look at what you're putting out. The ideas are not coming. The flow is not happening.
In there.
And I'm quite prolific on Twitter. I put stuff out on Twitter and nobody engages. Nobody likes it. Nobody does. I get no engagement at all. Yeah, they're going to happen. And I've just got to, when those come, I just go, ain't going to last. Ain't going to last.
So Dave, on the back end of that, we talk about pits, and actually a story comes to my mind in scripture where there's a guy named Benaiah, and there's a lion in a pit on a snowy day. So just like what we have in Toronto and Ottawa right now, 4 feet of snow on the snowbank out front. And deciding to go into that slippery, muddy mess and to face a beast. So he went the other way just enough to get a running head start to jump into that pit, to wrestle the lion and to overcome. And these were one of he was one of David's mighty men.
David's 30 mighty men. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was one of the leaders. So there were 3 or 4 leaders. There were the 3, and then there was another one. So I don't recall which one he was, but the point being that there was an act of bravery along the way. I definitely think that your move to England was one of those acts of bravery. I'm wondering if you could unpack maybe one more story for us that would be like, okay, in business, even when it's trouble, that have actually went towards the difficulty and said, I'm going to face this head on. If you have something like that.
And this is actually going back about 15 years. In England, we had just bought a house over there. We've been there about 7 or 8 years. And interest rates suddenly spiked at the time, and nobody can imagine that now because interest rates have been so low for so long. But they actually did spike, and this actually caused us a financial problem because my wife had gone back to work after having been home raising, minding the kids. I was full time, but I was a permanent employee, and my salary was fixed, and I got only so much of an increase every year. Right. And I knew enough guys, I would cross paths with them who had gone freelance and were making pretty tidy money for an engineer. Engineers don't get particularly well paid in England, but these guys were doing okay. And I thought, I wonder if I dare make the jump. Do I dare make the jump? And think, what happens if I don't get anything? If I quit, nothing happened, and I don't get anything. And in fact, that happened. It was September 1st, 2008. 2008, the credit crunch, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I decided to quit my permanent job. I've been there for almost 10 years. I quit my permanent job. And on August 31st was my last day. And I left the office, got home, checked my email, and the contract that I was due to start, no, they killed it. Wow. It wasn't August 31st. It was 2 weeks early. It was middle of August, and they killed it. They said, sorry, you're a dual citizen. We can't take you on. Oh well, but something in my head at the time sort of said, I think this is going to work out anyway. I'd gotten bitten by the bug, the optimism bug. I thought somehow this is going to work, and in fact, September 1st happens. I do end up getting another gig, paying more money than the one that I didn't get. And within 3 months, I remember looking at the bank account, seeing a figure of £8,000 in the bank account. Now that to some people that's trivial. To me at the time, that was huge. I'd never seen that amount of money in my bank account before. Wow, cool,
Amazing.
Burn the fences.
No, this is great, and really thank you, Dave. I know that really we can be the next 2 hours talking here with a lot of stories. Thank you for the time here today. And really, I know that you are doing copywriting right now. This is something like talking with your words and how you can change even selling with your words. So
it's copywriting and ghostwriting. I do both. Yeah.
So if you want to contact Dave, what do you think is the best way to contact you?
Easiest way is to find me on Twitter, and it's David Kimball, DavidKimbell, David Kimball, all one word. That's my handle on Twitter. That is the easiest way to find me. And if you navigate your way to my profile there, I'm really easy to find. I can also be emailed at dave@davekimbell.com, and that's something to DaveKimbell.com. Either way, but you'll find me on Twitter. I'm prolific on Twitter.
Awesome, Dave, and Dave the Gandalf, right?
I call right now my brand is I call myself the Content Gandalf. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome, Dave. Thank you very much, and we have
you're
a special
welcome.
guest today, Judy also. Let me see. Eduardo. Okay. Yuri was so fun with all the information that they was sharing with us that we took more time than expected. But I know really that you are doing something amazing about helping business owners with business owners. So you have a workshop, a conference that is coming very soon. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I do. And first of all, thank you all. And it's nice to see you all. And Dave, I totally enjoyed the stories you told, because part of what we're doing at the conference relates to mindset and developing belief in yourself. And your stories were incredibly powerful. So
great, super.
I was just drawn right into everything you were saying.
Yes.
Great.
So the conference is the Business Owners Success System Conference. It's an online event that goes live on February 10th to the 12th, and it features 25 speakers that, of course, because it's success system, the 25 speakers address the power of systems, having systems built in your business. So we all, as business owners, we all need to have a way to conduct our business and all the different pieces of our business. And, I've had my business for 29 years, the Center for Strategic Change. And what I do is I facilitate strategic thinking, strategic planning projects for clients to help them grow their business. And over those years, I've observed businesses that have well-built systems and businesses that, let's just say, they have gaps in their systems. And the power of those systems is what really helps us grow. Because if you just think about the changing times that we've come through these last 2 years, and what small businesses had to endure, well, even big businesses at the moment, in terms of, do you have employees come back to the office? Are they working remotely? And all the different types of things of how do you protect yourselves from the virus, and all those changing conditions. So businesses were forced to, again, look at and refine systems, and the businesses that were successful at doing that. Think about there's a little Mexican restaurant in one of the towns near us, and they immediately went to totally pickup. They would, instead of people coming into the restaurant, they would serve, and it'd be takeout. So they managed to stay in business, and other businesses, especially my clients, modified systems that they had so that they could adapt to changing conditions. So adapting to changing conditions is one of the values of systems. Mm-hmm. But I want to just give you an example of some of the speakers, because I got to interview the 25 speakers, and that was just such an amazing opportunity for me, because these speakers are all business owners, and business owners that have been in business for quite some time. Some of them have already built businesses, sold businesses, and moved on to building new businesses. And so the conference starts off with Tom Beal, who's a well-known, highly visible, I don't want to say internet marketer, but he works with internet marketers, and he's truly a motivational person. And he leads off the conference with talking about how to prepare your business for challenging times. Mm-hmm. And when I thought about that title, I thought, man, we just went through challenging times. We don't want to think about some more. Mm-hmm. But his whole point was, we're always going to go through challenging times. There's always going to be more challenges that come down our road. Maybe not of the same scope as a pandemic, but there's going to be other challenges that we as business owners face. And we need to prepare our business to be able to navigate those challenges, and building systems is one of them. But he also addressed the whole facet of mindset, which, Dave, you've touched on as you've navigated the different changes in your life and your business. Another speaker that I had the pleasure of interviewing was Claire Chandler, and she addresses the whole topic of leadership from the angle of how to get your leadership right before you start seeking investment. So if you're wanting to grow your business and you're at the point where you need to find capital, one of the first things you need to do is make sure that your leadership model, your leadership system is in place because investors will look at that before they decide to give you money.
Yes.
And then another one, getting down to like brass tacks that I call it, is Eli Delaney, who offered us tips on how to learn the best productivity hacks most businesses owners never hear about. You know, we all have the same number of hours in each of our days. And so part of being able to grow your business is being able to be more productive, use your hours more wisely. So there's like 25 of these speakers who just had these incredible nuggets of wisdom that they shared with us. So the conference is, you can register free. It's free registration. And what that gives you is anytime on February 10th, 11th, or 12th, you can access those interviews and listen live at your own convenience. You don't have to show up at 8 a.m. or whatever. You can access day one anytime during day one. You can access the speakers on day two anytime during that day that fits your schedule. If you would like to have those recordings so you can continue to listen to them, because that's what I'm finding is I need to go back, even though I had the pleasure of interviewing them all. I need to go back and listen to some again. And there's some that I know are going to be appropriate at a certain point down the road for me. You can upgrade to the VIP pass. And the VIP pass is $97. And then you get access to all those recordings for as long as you need the access. You get access to their free bonus offers also. And you get the MP3 file and notes and all kinds of other benefits by just upgrading. So the beauty is it's I'm going to say it's a conference of convenience, because you can access at your convenience. You can choose to upgrade, have access to the recordings, and build your systems, because that's what provides the groundwork, the structure for you to grow your business.
Yes, and we will have you, I know that very soon here in the show, just sharing your belief story, because I know you for a while, and it's very, very interesting. So I really encourage people. For me, this is amazing that you are creating this. This conference is something that helps a lot people to really grow in their business. We really encourage everyone to try to be there, and really it's 3 days, it's for free, and if you want to have that
and you have the link, Alejandro, so you can provide the link for them.
Yeah, exactly. So this is everything for the program. Do you have any last comments to share today?
For me or for anyone?
For anyone.
I'm going to just say, Dave, I just totally enjoyed what you shared with us, because it's a testament that it's not all known to us as we start our businesses, and we go down different journeys. And CJ, I think you said there's the peaks and the valleys, and the peaks and the valleys, and man, I've gone through those. And the wisdom that you shared about, you're only in the valley or down in that dip as long as you want to stay there. You can move your mindset.
So thank you very much to everyone. This show can be also heard on the Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out the SpanglishWorld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. Thank you all.
Thank you, friends.